Good morning and welcome to another episode of Paul Martin's Crucial Conversations. I'm Paul Martin, founder and president of Martin Healthcare Advisors. Today's episode, we're going to continue. I know we've taken a little bit of a break, but we're going to continue in our series on focusing on multi-site privately held physical therapy business owners. Notice I didn't say companies, I said the owners, because we want to get in their heads. These are the leaders out in physical therapy land who have successfully grown their practices and are continuing to drive growth in their communities. And our goal, as I stated, is to really get inside their heads, learn what makes them unique, and try to uncover the mindset and the strategies behind their success. And today, I am real excited to have with us someone that I have known for a long time, Jon Dooley. Jon, welcome.
Thank you, Paul. I'm very happy to be here.
Now, Jon is a physical therapist, and he is also the founder and owner of Greendale Physical Therapy.
Yep.
Jon has grown Greendale over the years into a thriving network of 7 clinics in Worcester, Central Massachusetts. Did I say that right, Jon?
Worcester, Central Massachusetts. You got it. You're not alone by saying Worcester, but it's Worcester, correct?
Worcester,
Yeah.
Central Massachusetts. All right,
Yeah.
man, I had one shot and I got it wrong. But anyway,
all
let's
right.
jump in if we could.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, Jon, many owners are content to stay small. And we may have some of those in our audience today, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what was different about your mindset that pushed you to pursue growth when others around you may have stopped?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, our, particular situation is that, we've grown to, 7 locations, and we have an 8th location coming in Q1 of next year. So it's always been something that we wanted to do. Growth is important to a business, but we've always wanted to do it purposely and just be purposeful about it and thoughtful about our growth. One of the things, I had a patient who was a very good businessman, and he would say to me, he says, Jon, growth is the easiest thing to do. The hardest thing to do is to do it right. And we just try to be really. I kept that in my mind, and it's totally true, because anybody can lease space and open up space and just do clinics here and there, but it just takes the right ability and thought process to do it appropriately and thoughtfully.
Absolutely. And I will remark to the audience that Greendale Physical Therapy, these are not, single clinic with one physical therapist, no front desk. I mean, these are thriving clinics. Congratulations on how you've been able to build one by one within the mold of your first.
Yes.
When you think back to the early days, kind of just getting started, how do you approach planning? And how has that planning, as you've moved through the years, how has that evolved as you have grown?
Yeah, talk about the early years. I think, Paul, you and I are very similar in that, we started our clinics about a year or two after school, and it's, sort of a thing where, in the beginning, it's you're just trying to survive. For me, it was a situation where I started and I was just looking to make a job for myself in the beginning, and it was back at a time where it's hard to imagine this, but there was a time where there was a lot of PTs out there and there wasn't a ton of jobs, and I was just and I was in a job that wasn't something that appealed to me, and had the opportunity to start. And in the beginning, it was just making a job and surviving. But then as things grew, it got to a point where, we had a great infrastructure and we had a great team and we were able to, grow, and we were really, like I said, thoughtful about our approach in terms of growing. We had, situations where we had a therapist that wanted to open up their own clinic in their local town, and it was just a great location and a great person, and we went for it and did it. Situations like that. There was a ton of situations where I had the opportunity to buy a practice, or buy a location that we passed on because it just wasn't the right situation, it wasn't the right timing, and I think that has served us very well, in that we've been able to concentrate on being good at the locations that we're at.
And obviously, your planning and your growth also had a level of discipline within it, given that I just heard you kind of walked away from a potential acquisition.
Yeah, yeah, it's it's something you need to do, and you just got to be very thoughtful. And I think I've seen a number of my colleagues get excited about adding a new clinic, and or having the opportunity to acquire a practice, and maybe overextend themselves, and get into trouble, or become even less profitable than they were before, because it wasn't the right situation, or they weren't able to staff it appropriately, that type of situation. So one of the things I keep in my mind, in terms of growth, is, Warren Buffett would say, in the investing world, you get 1,000 pitches, and you can choose which one you want to do, and that's sort of how I see the physical therapy. There's so many opportunities out there, and you just got to determine which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones, and you have that ability to cherry pick the good ones. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, every successful growth story has something unique about it. What do you think makes your company stand out in your markets, and how has that uniqueness fueled your ability to continue to grow?
yeah, I think one of the things that we've done recently, is we had been a standard outpatient sports orthopedic clinic for years and years and years, and that's what we did, and that's what we focused on. And one of the things we did about a year ago or so, is we started the first of its kind in Central Massachusetts. It's a Neurological Balance and Vestibular Center, and we started it literally right across the street from a brand new sports orthopedic clinic, and it was a risk. We didn't know how it would work out, but it's a unique situation, and it's really worked out very well. So here we are in Worcester. We have literally two very large clinics right across the street from each other, and they're both surviving and thriving. So it's I think we're unique in that way, and I think we're also unique, like I said, in that our primary identity isn't growth. Our primary identity is being good at what we do, good for our team, and good for our patients, prior to growth, and that has allowed us to grow properly.
Absolutely. And it also showed with your niche that a niche practice and a somewhat more general practice can both thrive across the street from each other.
Yeah, yeah, it's worked out really well, and we may be interested in sticking with this neurological balance and vestibular brand, and bring it to other markets
Yeah,
that we're in.
That's exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
What were some of the biggest roadblocks, one or two, that you faced as you went through your growth? And most importantly, how did you overcome those roadblocks?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Paul. I appreciate that. I think one of the challenges that I had, you know, growing with the business is sometimes getting the wrong people on the bus, the wrong people in the situation, and that sort of hindered our growth, hindered our progress, and I had at that time maybe low standards for what I expected in people, and I think as I grew, with the business, my standards grew, and what I expected from my team grew. So I'm very deliberate in terms of what I expect from my team, and also who I bring on board with my team. For example, we interviewed a ton of therapists last year, and and you know how difficult it is to find physical therapists, but there was a number of them that we turned away because they just weren't the right fit, or that there was something about them that was a red flag, and we know from past experience, bringing the wrong person on the bus is much more detrimental, in the long term. It might be nice to have a therapist short term, but having the wrong person is not a good thing. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So and another challenge, as you know, is just just staffing. And I think this is across the board. With pretty much all clinics across the country, or most clinics across the country. And last year, I made the cognizant thought to say, hey, we're going to do whatever we need to do to bring some therapists on board. And I'll just share with you, I was at the private practice section conference a couple years ago, and there was a keynote speaker, and he was from a reality show that went across the country and just did random things. And one of the things that they did was, this was, I thought, super cool. They say, we want to play basketball with President Obama. And they worked every single angle and every single thing that they could do to play basketball with President Obama. And these are a bunch of Canadian kids that had nothing to do with anything. And they did it. They worked every angle, and they eventually got into play basketball with President Obama. So where I'm going with the story, Paul, is that the term that they used when they did that is relentless. And I think that philosophy, over the past year or so, when it comes to recruiting therapists, has been how we've been so successful recruiting therapists where others haven't been. Is I made a list of about 10 different areas where you can recruit therapists, and just basically worked every angle, and was relentless, and we were very successful.
Yeah, and that is relentless in a very specific issue, as you have talked about, that has caused a lot of private practices not to thrive and to struggle. I heard you give mention back in the beginning of that question to seats on the bus and the people on the bus. Jon, we got to give a little bit of a shout out to Dennis Bush, who many years ago, I guarantee, walked through with you his strategy as it related to the people on the bus. Is that the case?
It must be him. And it was what book is it? Good to Great? Was that the
Yes.
book?
Yes.
I can't recall.
Absolutely.
You read so many of them, they sort of go into each other. But we'll give credit to Dennis Bush for sure.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
One of the biggest hurdles for multi-site physical therapy companies is creating leaders beyond the founders. How
Yeah.
have you developed strong clinic leaders and a leadership pipeline to continue to support growth?
Yeah, again, Paul, that's another great question. Is we had a challenge, a number of years ago, where we had people that did not want to go into management. We had so many therapists that just wanted to treat patients and be the foot soldiers, and not get into management. And we created in response to that, we created a role within our company called the clinic supervisor, which is sort of a manager light type situation. So they don't have the full, you know, responsibilities of a clinic manager, but they get their feet wet in the management role, and that giving them that opportunity, and sort of let them feel it out, and get used to it, has been really good in terms of getting people into the management structure. So it goes, for us, it goes clinic supervisor, clinic manager, regional manager type situation. So there is that progression, and people can see that progression, and obviously, pay is commensurate with what they're doing. So there's that benefit as well. So that's one thing that we did, is just sort of lowering the threshold of what a manager is, has been successful for us. And then another thing that we do, which I think is key for developing managers, keeping them engaged, is we do what's called a leadership lab, and we do that twice a year. And it's basically getting our executive team together with our clinic managers and supervisors, and each clinic manager and executive team member does an educational moment. They talk about their wins for the year. They talk about their plans for the upcoming year. We just did this last week, actually. And then, which is really neat, is they bring their problems to the table, and they, amongst themselves, are problem solving their management problems. With them, it's not Jon Dooley saying, "Hey, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to change. This is how you do it." Is they amongst themselves, figure out for themselves how to manage their clinics better, and it's worked out very well.
Yeah, two really, really unique strategies as it relates to this whole leadership idea. And I think the idea of a clinical supervisor prior to a clinical director, clinical manager, whatever we may want to call it, going from clinician to now I'm a clinician, but I got to manage all these people. I got to manage doctors. I got to manage the owner. I mean, it's a big step. And so I think what a great idea, and to have that as a part of their pay scale as well. Jon, that's unique. And we've talked to companies with 3 times as many clinics as you have that don't have that system in place. And the leadership lab is just genius. What a great idea for them to work together and not to have you looking over everything. Really, really great strategies.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So if some folks are out there and they have 1, maybe 2 clinics, or maybe even 3, but they really want to grow, what's the first practical step or tip that you would give them?
Yeah, I would, if I'm talking to people, and I have talked to people in that particular situation, and I tell them, I says, what is your reason for wanting to grow? What is your purpose for doing this? Is it just to add another clinic so you can say you have 3 clinics or 4 clinics or whatever? Is it to grow your profit? Is it is it a good location that you think it's going to do well? And just sort of identify, is it not to dissuade them from doing it? I don't want to dissuade anybody from growing. In fact, I encourage people more so than dissuade them. But is it an opportunity where maybe you can do same store growth and get the same, the same return within the 2 clinics that you have? Are you maxing the capacity at the clinics that you have before going into adding a 3rd or 4th clinic? So I just tell them to be a little bit more tempered in their approach, and not dissuade them. I definitely like to see people grow, but just be careful about it.
Just not in Worcester, Massachusetts, right?
We got competitors coming into town, but we're doing fine. So we got people coming.
And I wanted to say it right too.
Say it again.
Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Yeah, I'm getting this. Okay.
Yeah, well, you can come visit Massachusetts and be okay. You just gotta take the hours out of here. Yeah, you got it.
So looking kind of broad scope here, where do you see opportunities for independent physical therapy companies to grow looking out over the next 5 years? What are some of the opportunities that you're keeping your eye on for the future?
Yeah. So we, one of the things that we're working on, and I think, a number of clinics are working on, is, working, directly with employers. I think that is not going to be, a massive, market, but I think it's going to be enough of a market where you can, get a premium, per visit reimbursement that it'll move the needle in terms of, profitability. And basically what this is working with employers that are self-funded or self-insured, and your physical therapy clinic being the first point of contact for musculoskeletal care. And if you can do that, what your goal is for them is to reduce the cost, because, as you know, Paul, physical therapy is very inexpensive compared to imaging and orthopedics and surgery and that stuff. So for $1,000 or $1,200, you can get a course of physical therapy where you can get amazing outcomes, for a real inexpensive amount of money. So if you can, show that to these employers and get them to buy into it, I think there's a lot of opportunity with that in the future.
Yeah.
So,
Jon, you bring up a really good strategy, and we are seeing, across the country in certain pockets, companies that are working with hospital systems where they have, the breadth is that direct to employer contract is going to be, I think, really valuable in the future. If you were ever to look to, join a larger partner, trust me, those direct to employer contracts are going to be valuable.
yeah, that's good. That's good to know. And I will say, we talked about it a little bit, but the Neurological Balance and Vestibular Center, I think that, there's a whole new world of people that you can treat aside from orthopedics and sports. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for more specialty services as well.
Absolutely. So last question, Jon.
Sure.
Let's get personal, right? Let's get personal. What have you learned as a business owner during, let's call it the rehab business journey? And how has it shaped the way that you think about your role and the future of your company?
Yeah, I think, when I started back in a 600 square foot space, so many years ago, I think it was,
your
survival.
Job, right? That was just your job.
It was a job. It was a job. You're the technician.
Yep.
You're doing everything. You're answering the phones. You're doing the payroll. You're doing the treating the patients. And I think as I've grown throughout the processes, I found that there's a ton of other people out there that are so much better at that stuff than I am. There's better therapists that can treat patients better. There's better people who can do human resources. There's better people who can do events and marketing and that type of thing. So I think what I've learned, through the process is, finding the who, not the how, is just, finding the right people to work the business. And in my role, I see more so as, steering the ship, being the leader for the company, figuring out the strategic, avenues for where I want the clinic to go. And then also, I think at this stage in the game, just finding stuff that, I enjoy doing. One of the things I enjoy doing is interviewing therapists and working with new grads, and there's some marketing initiatives that I really enjoy and get into. So I think the combination of, steering the ship and, doing the stuff that I'm passionate about and enjoy is where I'm going. So.
Yeah, Jon, hey, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate, and I am sure our audience appreciates the time you spent with us today. You have given them a lot of absolute, just, down and dirty, hardcore lessons on how to grow your business. And I believe that 7-clinic Jon Dooley Greendale is going to continue to get to that 8, 10, and continue that march forward. Because some of the systems and strategies that you have used are gold, and I congratulate you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I really appreciate you having me on board, and it's great talking to a leader in the industry like yourself.
Oh, thank you. So for all of you out there today, if you have any questions for Jon or myself, don't hesitate. Just click below and let's talk. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and thank you for tuning in.